Body position on your e-mountain bike is vital when it comes to riding, be it downhill, climbing, jumping, drop-offs, you name it, there is the right body position. There's definitely a few mistakes that a few of you guys make along the way. So today we can take a look at those mistakes and make sure you're doing the right thing. Right, so let's talk about those contact points first. Your contact points on your bike can be your grips, your pedals and your saddle. Basically any part where your body touches the bike. Let's start at the top with the grips. Now a big mistake I see a lot of riders doing is holding onto that grip too tight, meaning that when you tackle technical terrain like big rocky downhills, you're holding on for dear life. You don't want to hold on really tight. You want that grip to kind of move around in your hand, so you're kind of loosely gripping. Another big mistake I see is riders riding with a thumb on top of the grip. So particularly if you're riding easy trails, some riders like to remove their grip and place a thumb on top, meaning if you hit a bump, your hand is literally just going to fly straight off the front of the grip, and of course a big loss of control. Another one is riders riding with two fingers on their brake levers. Now a lot of the newer school brakes, you only need one finger to brake, therefore you can remove that finger back to your handlebar grip, and that way you're going to stay in a lot more control with more fingers on the grip rather than the brake levers. Whilst you're at the front end of the bike as well, you might want to make a few adjustments with the bar and the stem height. You can adjust the stem height by moving the spacers up and down. This is going to affect your body position out on the trail. If you find yourself your weight on the front of the bike, putting a few spacers under the stem will take your weight back, so it might alter how you're riding. And the other controls to think about is things like your brake levers, your bar roll. Adjusting all that can make a big difference to how you actually feel on the bike and those positions as well. One of the main contact points on your e-mountain bike is going to be the saddle. Now with the saddle, you definitely want to be out of the saddle when it comes to riding technical terrain or riding downhill. It's just going to let you move around on the bike a lot easier. It means you can get your weight back on those downhills or get your weight to the front of the bike without getting snagged in it. If you are sat in the saddle, you should only be doing that when you're hitting those technical climbs or you want a lot of weight on the back of the bike. Anything apart from that, you should be out the saddle and letting that bike move around beneath you. And your last point of contact is going to be your feet onto your pedals. Now there's definitely a prime place to have your feet, and that is kind of just behind the front of your toes on the leading edge. You want to kind of feel it in the middle of your foot. If you're too far forward, it just means that you're going to get a lot of flex in the front of your foot and a chance of slipping off those pedals, meaning you can get that nasty shin bash. Or if you're too far forward, all that shock that's coming through the bike is going to have no flexibility in your foot. Everything is going to come straight up through your leg and you're going to have a really harsh ride. So just make sure your foot is in the right position, and also make sure you're not pedaling feet, you know, your ankle out or your ankle in. It just means that you can get a lot of wear on your knee, rubbing your chainstays, things like that. So foot position is definitely critical too. Another thing you might want to think about is the tilt of your feet on the pedals. When I'm riding tech, steep terrain, I like to tilt my ankles back so my heels are actually dropped. That way it's just going to increase that traction between the pins and your feet of your pedals. If you're riding your feet quite flat, it's quite easy to get your feet and get bounced over the front and find yourself riding on your heel in no time. Wow. So once you harness up e-bike's motor, you can climb some pretty impressive stuff. Now I'm sure we've all been there and made these mistakes. The classic is going up the climb and you're feeling that front wheel lift whilst you're delivering that power, and it wants to loop you off the back. The bike actually lifts up, does a wheelie, and you've got to jump off the back. Or the other scenario, the flip side of that, is where you've got your weight too far forward, you're out the saddle, kind of in the sprint position, and the back wheel loses traction, therefore causes a wheel spin and makes you stop. Well, to rectify all of that, you want to try this one. So try climbing with your seat slammed, so drop that seat. Therefore you're lowering your center of gravity, you've got a lot of grip on that back wheel, and if the front wheel does lift, you can get your weight forward easy. You're not perched up high on a saddle. That way you've got a load of weight over the back wheel, for when it gets slippy, slide back on the seat, get your weight right back on that back wheel and get that drive going. It's a really great way of climbing those steep, loose, slippy banks without that front wheel lifting high. Look at that. One of the biggest mistakes you can do is ride looking down. Your head is a massive heavy part of your body. It can affect your handling purely from its weight alone. It can also make you drop your shoulders and upper body too. There's also an important part on the front of your head, that is your eyes. You need to be looking at least 2 bike lengths down the trail at slower speeds and up and that according to the speed you're riding the trail. Looking further down the trail will help you pick lines better and react quicker to what's coming, meaning you can shift gears and hit braking points way easier. Pedal strikes on your e-mountain bike are quite a common occurrence, and you don't want to enhance that effect when you're heading downhill. Now when you're tired on your e-bike, it's quite easy to go into a section with a pedal dropped. So you've got the pedals at the 12:30 position, one high and one low. To come for a section like this, you could definitely get a pedal strike and high side you or cause a bit of a loss of control. When you're riding tech sections such as this downhill, you definitely want those pedals level, looking ahead and keeping those pedals out of harm's way. Another real big mistake that I see out there on the trails is people riding really stiff with zero flow. If you're really stiff on your bike, it means that your body can't react to all those hits that are coming up. You're not reacting to how the trail's feeling. You really want to be dancing around on the bike. If you're constantly stop, start, one, you're using a load of battery, and two, you're losing a load of momentum. It's all about flow and keeping things moving. So say dance around on that bike and make that trail come alive. So there you go, a few e-bike body position mistakes that a lot of us are definitely guilty of. If you dial these in, I can guarantee your next e-bike ride will be so much better. You're going to be flying up those hills, smashing the downhills and feeling nice and loose on that bike. Don't forget, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to EMBN and also find us on social media too.